Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys. So, so yesterday we discussed about what is SDLC and what are the different phases that we have in SDLC. Today we'll be discussing about what are the traditional approaches that we had, and we'll discuss what are the pros and cons of those models. And in detail, we are going to discuss about each and every module and how does this exactly uh, implemented in the software development process. Okay. So we have a lot of models which are available in the market, but mostly we can hear that in a waterfall model, iterative, incremental, and V model. There are other models like rapid action development, spiral model, and prototype model. So these are the different models which are there in the market, but they are least used. And what are the mainly models that were came into the focus a decade ago, and currently few organizations they are still working on this model. So I have picked them. So here we'll go with the waterfall model first, and we'll try to understand what is that model and what are the. Just give me a second, guys. Yes, Manoj, you can get those details from the admin team. And there were 3 classes which happened so far. So you can get those details, like whatever videos that we had part of the sessions. Yeah. Okay, let's get started with waterfall model. So waterfall model is a linear sequential software development process model. So it is traditional approach to software development that follows a sequential step-by-step approach. So whenever we are talking about like water, right, it flows down. It's nothing but the water will be flowing down as per the gravity that we have, right? So in case of software also we have kind of a waterfall cascading model. What we say is like so one after the other, or it's like a sequential flow. Okay, so we call that as like a linear approach, linear sequential software development process. So here in this case, every model that we have discussed, right, phases. So all these phases will be flown one after the other. Okay, so in the waterfall model, the development process divided into sequential phases, and each phase must be completed before moving on to the next. So it's kind of like we talked about like entry and exit criteria, right? So how do we evaluate this entry and exit criteria? For example, if you take this requirement phase, so requirements phase is like input to the design phase. So we can say that we can conclude that requirements are done, and then that could be the input for the design phase. Okay, let's see what are the different what is the structure of waterfall and what are the different phases that we have in it. Okay, so here you can see you have a requirement, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. Okay, every model, whichever model that we are talking about, should follow the SDLC. Okay, that is nothing but software development lifecycle. So here in this case, you can see the first phase is like requirement gathering and analysis. In this phase, the requirement for the software to be developed or gathered and analyzed. So as we discussed yesterday, so what we do is like we need to gather the requirements. That's nothing but uh, typically the team will be involved into it to get the requirement, and after that they are going to analyze it. So we talked about like what is tangible, non-tangible, feasible, and non-feasible. Okay, so monetary benefit and the possibility. Okay, so possibility, these are called tangible and non-tangible. So after the requirement is done, so what is the next phase like? We go with the design phase. Okay, so this requirement list is kind of like a input to the design. So here we need to be cautious about like the phases. If the phase is current, I mean completely designed or completely completed, I mean to say that if we don't have any feedbacks coming after this, we say that this is frozen. For example, the requirements are frozen. We say that 100 requirements we have taken, and we say that it is frozen. Now there is no point of again going back, like we started with the design, and we are in between the design, and we saw that some flaw is there. Okay, so flaw is kind of like again something that you have to be adjusted. So in certain cases, what we do is like, again, you find it like this is a requirement change, we have to go back. So that is not possible here. Okay. So we have to be concise about like, and very cautious about the requirements. If requirements are frozen, then only we can go with the design. So this is not possible here in the waterfall. So because every phase is input to the next phase. Okay. If requirement is done, then we take it as like input to the design. That is nothing but entry criteria. We say that entry criteria to the design. So next design phase, as we discussed yesterday. So designing is kind of like, architect, they would be taking the requirements and they look deeply into the requirements and they start designing the application. So after that implementation, so this is development. So wherein developers should be picking up that technical stack and they'll be working on the technologies to meet the requirements. Testing is like here, testing comes after all these phases like requirement phase, design, implementation. So meanwhile, testers should be like, picking up those test scenarios and, looking into the requirements, picking up the test scenarios and writing the test cases. So these are the job they would do, but they never looked into the application yet because this is not designed yet until the implementation is completed. So in that case, what they do is like they have to, as a testers, our job is to, we need to write the test cases, get it reviewed by the customers or, teammates or after authoring everything, we have to do ourselves like kind of reviews. And after that, then what we do is like finally we get the sign off on the test cases. So here in the testing phase, we get the application. Now we start executing the test cases on the application, okay, against the application. So, so here, what is our goal of what is the goal? What are the goals of testers and what is the goal? Okay, initial goal of the tester is to find the defects. Okay, we don't go and assess the quality. So first we have to execute the test cases and see that it is working properly. And if you have any defects identified, then we have to report those defects. And next is like we have to check for the coverages. Okay, so what is the time that we have within the time? What is the coverage that we are doing? And next we have to look into the requirements. Are we satisfying the requirements? So next is like deployment. Once this is done, like, we'll be moving this into the UAT, okay? User acceptance testing. Now it's part of the user. So user acceptance testing of two types actually. One is like we have field testing, or other one like site testing. So generally what we do is like in field testing, let us take like if we have to deliver this product to somebody else. Okay, I'll make it very simple. So what you do is like first you are going to check it. Then only you are going to deliver it to the customer. Okay. After that, customer would be doing another check. Okay, for his satisfaction. So user acceptance testing basically done by the third party teams. Like for example, if TCS is building some application and they do the testing, after that they say that okay, we are done with the testing. But as a customer, I want to have one more check. So I'm going to hire Infosys for that. Okay. So Infosys is going to take this particular application and they are going to test this, and they write some other test cases and use the existing test cases, and they are going to just execute those test cases against the application to find if they have any potential issues. Okay. So it's like one more check. So after this, now the banks and everything, they are relying on the Infosys and they got the two inputs, right? So one is like two flags. Let us take like one green flag from the TCS and another green flag from the Infosys. So now what they do is like they are going to implement that product. Okay, implementation is like completely now it is deployed into the real time. So now it is up and working. After that, we have a maintenance phase. If we find any issues in the production, then what we do is like we are going to provide the fix for that. Okay, so these are the phases which will be implemented as part of waterfall model. And these are like typical, every model should follow the same typical architecture of SDLC. Okay. So now we'll see that what are the different, what are the pros and cons of using this. Okay. So pros are like, sorry guys. So pros are like, we have some pros in the sense like, advantages. Okay. So cons are like constraints. Okay. Constraints are like nothing but disadvantages. So advantages and disadvantages, like first we look into the advantages. Clear and well-structured process. The waterfall is well structured and easy to understand. And here what we do is like every phase is like defined, we should define it properly. Okay. So we have to be accurate. Like 99% we should be accurate about it. 1% is like kind of like there may be some little changes that we can do. But the thing is like when we are talking about like inputs and outputs, okay, so one phase will have all the details for the next phase. That is nothing but it's like a downwards flow. Okay. So the other phase will further phase is waiting for the approval from the first phase. If requirement team says like a business analyst, project management, everybody says like we are ready with the documents. Now you can go ahead with the documents and you can start designing. So after the design is done, then the next phase would be like development phase. So developers will be waiting for those design documents so that they can start working on the application. That's nothing but designing, developing the application. They write the classes, UIs, and everything they are going to design as part of the requirements. Okay. So this is like, you should be clearly. So first advantage is like clear and well structured process. If we have clear and well structured process, then this model is applicable for us. And easy to manage. The linear sequence nature of the waterfall model makes it easy to manage because project timeline. See, for example, if we say that we have to complete this project in an year, and we have given enough time, like requirement phase would be like 2 months of time that would take to gather the requirement. So we'll get some enough time. So you have enough time and you would be closely working with the customer. And other thing is like for gathering the requirement, and the other thing is like we don't have any rush for this. Okay, so our application is like, okay, we can design it and we have enough time for this. So in that case, it will be easy. Like we have to look into a few other factors like timelines, budget, resources, and deliverables and milestones. So everything is defined prior. Okay, so it's not like tomorrow I'll come and say that okay, what we have to do for next day. It's not like that. We have to have the plan. If we have a clear plan and if you have enough time, then we can go with this approach. Good for stable and well-defined requirements. So here it's not rush and we have enough time to gather the requirements, and it's like every requirements and well-defined. And we say that if we say this requirement is a requirement to be implemented and that requirement remain constant. Okay, so it will not be changing its phase. So these are the advantages. And so if if you go with the disadvantages, what are the disadvantages of it? Okay, so advantages, I'll repeat it again. So clear and well structured process, easy to manage, and good for stable and well defined requirements. And what are the disadvantages or constraints? So rigid and inflexible. The waterfall model is linear sequential process, which means that each phase must be completed before moving on to the next phase. So if I say that I'm done with the requirement, I'm done with the requirement. Okay. So it's frozen. Frozen is like I cannot go back and make the changes and come back to the design. So this is not possible. So that is nothing but rigid and inflexible. Okay. So inflexible is like it's not flexible enough to make the changes, and rigid is like constant. It's like constant. Limited feedbacks, as we discussed, like 99%, the phases should have the defined requirements, or if they say that if it is designed, then it should be constant. So 1% of changes, like limited feedbacks, only cosmetic changes, what we say. Okay, so only to make some changes, adjustments. So that is like part of this limited changes. So not good for complex and large projects. So as we discussed, like if we are, if we have to go with some project that we have to, it's like very big and we have a lot of requirements, and every time we get some suggestions from the customer of or few things are not getting implemented. In certain cases, this is not a good approach. So we cannot go with this. Okay. So it's not good for complex and large projects. So no working software until late in the process. So it says like every phase we have to complete. So it's not like, in 1 month I can deliver something, I can show to the customer, okay, this is the product, because it is very well defined, and we have to wait until the last step is completed. That is nothing but the implementation and testing is done, and finally testers say that this is signed off, and there you can see the application is like ready for using. Okay, so until unless we have this stages completed, we cannot say this whole process is completed when we are following this waterfall model. Okay, so guys, this is not related to the related to the term rolling out the software. I mean to say that to see the software, it is a process actually. Okay, so it is altogether a process. If you change the process, you see the software early. Sometimes if you follow some other process, okay, everything is like, I want to see something output as part of 1 month, then everybody would be working collaboratively. But here, not in the case of waterfall model, because we are following certain process. Okay, we'll see what are the other things like in case of incremental, iterative, and V model, how this software will be rolled out. Okay, rolled out in the sense it is projected to the customer. That's like marketing to the customer. Are you clear with this, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys. So let me go ahead with the next model. So next is like iterative model. So this is little different when we compare to the waterfall model. In this model, you can start with some of the software specifications and develop the first version of the software. After the first version, if there is any need to change the software, then a new version of the software is created with the new iterations. So every release of the iterative model finishes in an exact and fixed period that is called iteration. So what we do is like here we'll take like we have 100 requirements now. We are going to divide those requirements in the form of like iterative. Okay, so like first 20 requirements in this phase. Second, like in the second phase, we are going to take 20 requirements. Likewise, we are going to chop down the requirements. Okay, we are going to make it like a smaller pieces of features. So wherein we can take those features and like so that small pieces and we can implement those features. So in the next thing is like iterative model allows the accessing earlier phases in which the variations made respectively and the final output of the project reviewed at the end of the software development lifecycle. Okay, so we can see that if we are constructing any building, what do we see? So generally we start with the foundation, then we do some like civil work is done, then foundation is done. But we have some set of prototype with us. That is nothing but blueprint. But that blueprint can be projected at the end of the delivery. It's nothing but after completion of the construction. But we have something in our mind. Okay, so something in our mind. That's nothing but the design we have, but implementation part would take some time. Okay, it's kind of like phases wise it will be done. So we'll see what are the implementation part of it in this diagram. So here we have phases. You can see planning in this phase, the requirement for the software. So as we have this planning and requirement, so it is similar thing here also. And next is like design. The design of software is created based on the requirements identified in the previous phase. Okay, it is also kind of an input for the this phase. Like you can see that requirement is like kind of a input phase for the design. So now we are building it. Building in the sense now we are going to take those requirements. Then after we are going to start coding the application. Like we start coding this and with the help of like technical stack, and after that we'll get the testing. But here you can see this is little different when we follow the process. Okay, so here you can see in the first phase, in iterative phase, you can see requirement analysis, design, testing, implementation, and review. So once the review is done, like we are projecting something to customer, so customer would give some feedback. Okay, so if he's giving some feedback, we have to consider this feedback as kind of another iteration. So this is kind of like second iteration. Again, we are going to see that we will not start with the requirements, but the requirements are already done, right? So if you are making any adjustments to the design, now what we do is like we start from the design phase itself. Okay, we never go to the requirement phase again. So here we are going to design it, test it, implementation. Again, we are going to project it to the customer. So we can consider these are like kind of requirements that we have, like the first level of requirements. We take those first level of requirements, then after we'll be working on them as part of like iterations. Okay, so until we complete all the requirements in that first phase. So you can see this is like iterations. Iteration 2 will have design, testing, implementation, review. If we get any feedback from the customer, so what we do is like we are going to consider it as like iterations. Like this will continue until all these requirements are done along with the feedbacks. So this is iterative model. But whereas waterfall model is different, right? So once the requirements are frozen, then we go with the design phase. Okay, so analyzing, after that we design it, test it, implementation, and review. But we don't have any set of like iterations. Like we don't divide that. will not continue with the flow. Okay, so I mean, like, we will not get disturbed with the continuation of the flow. We'll be continuing with the flow. So in case of waterfall, we have two things. One is re-engineering and reverse engineering. So that is very costly operations, because if you are trying to set, tracing back again, see, from testing you found something, go back to the code, look into that code and try to understand the design and design to requirement. So this is kind of like, retracing again. So we have two ways of doing it. One is the reverse engineering, another is like re-engineering.
Not able to hear you, sir. Sir, you are not audible.
But sorry guys, it's my bad. So there's a power disconnect. Can admin team give rights to record this session? Just give me a second, guys. I'm going to check with the team. Yeah, sorry for the delay, guys. Let's wait for a couple of minutes so that we can get this session recorded. And I should have the permissions to share the screen. So let's have a little introduction today. So after this call, I want to have after this call.
Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Can I have asked a question? Any parallel classes are going on, sir? Yours?
Sorry, I'm not able to understand. Could you be audible?
Any parallel classes are going on, sir? Yours?
No, Vijay, I'm taking only one class at a time. So I don't have any parallel classes in a day. Yeah, you can ask me if you have any doubts, and at the end of the session, you can stay back and you can ask me doubts. Okay, if something you are not able to understand, you have videos still, and you can use those videos.
Yeah, okay.
Still waiting on them, so let them come back.
And another one thing, sir, you are going to explain Excel also because of we need to write the test cases in Excel, right?
Yes,
So
yes, yes. That I
I
am going to explain. Yeah. So
because
still that
I'm
is little far away from us now. So I just want you to understand what are the different types of testing that we have, and then after techniques, then we'll start with the test case design. Then we'll go with the defect tracking. Okay.
yeah,
And it's
okay.
very important to understand software development life cycle, software testing life cycles. So though you work as like performance tester or automation tester, whatever it is,